It was around 2 a.m., still deep into the middle of the night, when this man named Deji Adenuga took a gallon of petrol and sneaked into the compound where his ex-girlfriend, Titi Sanumi, lived with 8 other family members in a one-room apartment in Ondo State, Nigeria. He doused the entire building with the petrol, set it on fire, and then fled the scene. As the flames engulfed the small one-room apartment, Deji might have thought that his revenge was complete, but he was terribly wrong. In his anger, he failed to realize the true horror of what he had done that night. Living in that house was Titi, who was his ex-girlfriend, her sister Jumoke Sanumi, Jumoke's husband, their 6 children, and her junior sister's child. The fire burned 5 people to death at the spot, while 3 others were rushed to the hospital for treatment. These 3 survivors eventually passed away the next day. So, within 24 hours, Deji, in a quest for revenge, caused the tragic death of an entire family of 8. Only 2 people survived the fire that night, and ironically, these 2 survivors were Deji's main targets. One of them suffered minor injuries, while the other had first-degree burns and was fighting for survival in an intensive care unit. To understand what drove Deji to commit this heinous crime, we need to go back to the beginning of his relationship with Titi. Deji was a 45-year-old palm wine tapper who also doubled as a car wash attendant to support himself. He was a man of simple means, but fierce emotions. He was also a man walking around with a very dark secret, a kind of secret so terrifying that immediately Titi found out about it, she decided to end the relationship. But unfortunately for her, this action would turn out to be the biggest mistake of her life. Deji met Titi in 2018, and what started as a seemingly normal relationship quickly turned into a very toxic one. It became a relationship filled with manipulation, lies, and deception. After they met, everything was going very well for the two, so good that Titi decided to move in with him. They lived together for over a year, and that was when things began to go very wrong. Deji had always nursed the intention of marrying Titi, but it turned out that Titi was not sharing the same expectation as him. However, she didn't make this known to him, and this would later turn out to become one among other reasons why Deji did what he did that night. Deji supported Titi in the best possible way. He gave her 30,000 naira to start up a business for herself. He also supported her family, especially her sister Jumoke, whose husband had been down with a stroke for years. Deji claimed he would take foodstuffs to Jumoke almost every week. When he buys food items for personal use, Titi would divide it into 2 and then take half of it to her sister's house. Each time she cooked, she would also divide the food and then take some parts to her sister, Jumoke. Deji also claimed that Jumoke would collect money from him every other day for one reason or the other to feed her family. He said he didn't have any issues helping them out, but the problem started when Jumoke began being very manipulative. According to him, it got to a point that whenever Jumoke needed money for her family, she would tell Titi to come to her place and then ask Deji to pay her before she would release Titi back to him. He also claimed that Jumoke always made sure he quarreled with Titi so that she would use it as an avenue to extort money and foodstuffs from him before helping them settle their differences. This went on for quite a while, but the last straw that would eventually break the camel's back was on the way, and its impact would be everlasting. The couple continued their on and off relationship amidst the occasional drama. However, things got complicated when Titi found out that she was pregnant. She informed Deji about her pregnancy, as well as her sister, Jumoke. Deji told her to keep the baby and promised to take full responsibility for their welfare. He also shared his plans to marry her so that they could live together as a family. Deji claimed that Titi's mother and other members of her family encouraged her to marry him, but Jumoke made her think otherwise. Jumoke told Deji that she was the only one in the family who could decide who Titi would marry. Hearing this, Deji promised to give her 20,000 naira so that she could approve their relationship. However, when Deji failed to fulfill this promise to her on time, Jumoke decided to do the unthinkable. It was said that Jumoke connived with Titi to abort the 4-month pregnancy without Deji's consent. After finding out about this, he was sad, frustrated, and angry. Deji asked Titi to refund the 30,000 naira he gave her to start a business. He also told her to return the 25,000 naira he gave her to keep for him. However, Titi refused to refund the said amount of money. It was during this period that Titi discovered a very disturbing secret that Deji had been hiding from her for years. It turned out that Deji was no model citizen. He was actually an ex-convict who had been imprisoned in the year 2000 for killing his first wife, Abiye Akinola, after she also refused to return the 450,000 naira he kept with her. Deji later escaped from the Olukota prison in Ondo State in 2013, along with other inmates. He was said to have been rearrested, but later granted amnesty in 2015. Deji had remained a free man since then. After making this shocking discovery, it was reported that Titi backed out of Deji's house and then ran to her sister's place. This got Deji even more angry because he had invested a lot of money in both Titi and her sister's family just so that he could gain their approval. In his own words, Deji said he felt Titi and Jumoke used him as an automatic teller machine to get money for their personal use, when they knew very well she wasn't going to marry him in the end. In a bid to limit his losses, Deji insisted that Titi should return the total sum of 55,000 naira he gave her, but Titi refused and instead threatened to deal with him if he ever returned to ask for the money again. Surprisingly, Deji decided to report the matter to the police. The police then invited Titi and her sister to the station, where they reportedly settled the matter amicably between them. It is not known if the police asked Titi to refund the said money, but based on what followed after this encounter, it is very likely that they asked Deji to forfeit the money. Things took a darker turn as soon as both parties left the police station. Deji claimed that Titi and her sister began to abuse and make jest of him for reporting them to the police. They called him a failure and that he wasn't even a man for dragging them to the police station. Deji claimed they threatened to take his life if he didn't desist from reporting them to anyone he saw on the street. It was right at that moment Deji conceived the evil plan that would change their lives forever. After he got home that day, Deji went to the filling station to buy 500 naira worth of petrol. As of 2019, a 500 naira worth of petrol was about 3 liters. On the night of April 23rd, 2019, around 2 a.m., Deji took his gallon of petrol and went to Jumoke's house, where she was living with her husband, her 6 children, Titi, and her junior sister's child. He forced the window open, doused the room and building with petrol, and then set it ablaze. The fire resulted in the tragic death of 8 people, leaving behind only Jumoke and Titi, who ironically were his main targets. Jumoke had some minor burns, which she suffered while trying to rescue her children. Titi, on the other hand, suffered a first-degree burn and was in a critical condition in the intensive care unit. Deji fled from Ondo State to hide in Ijebu-Ode, a town in the neighboring Ogun State. He was arrested 5 days after committing the crime and then taken back to Ondo State for questioning. Deji told his own side of the story and then stated boldly that he did not regret his actions that night. He told the police that he had no idea there would be other family members in the house. He said his only targets were Titi and Jumoke because what they did to him was unbearable. Deji was arraigned in court and the police promised to revive his old murder case again so that he would face the full wrath of the law. However, at the time of making this video, there was no news article or court document indicating that Deji was ever sentenced for his crime. It is possible he may have been sentenced without making the news. It is also possible that he is still awaiting trial up till today. There is no excuse for taking another person's life, but if you were to blame anyone in this case, who would that be? Let me know your thoughts in the comments below. Don't forget to like, share and subscribe to this channel for more true crime stories. Thank you for watching and stay safe.